I'm Nicola Blackler. I work in the International Large Accounts division of Sodexo. I joined in 2010, and I'll do a brief introduction of Sodexo and the ILA division, which is what we refer to as International Large Accounts. And Fiona is the project manager of Sodexo Connections, and she'll run through the evolution of the relationship and the development of the platform. I will come back and give you a brief overview, which will play on video, which will be very challenging because normally I'm driving it, so keeping my speed will be interesting. So we've titled this presentation today, Creative Synergies, and it's really about how we extract the value of bringing Sodexo and NJW together to deliver Sodexo Connections. But a brief overview of Sodexo. We are a quality of life services company. And I didn't say we're a FM company, and I haven't said we're a catering company, because Sodexo delivers over 200 different services daily. We have 420,000 employees in 80 countries globally. We serve 75 million consumers daily. So much more than just a facilities management company or a food catering company. We do things as diverse as in-home care for the aged and disadvantaged people. And we provide support services to NATO and Afghanistan. And we even, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard about Sodexo services, is we test mosquitoes in Australia to see if they carry tropical diseases. So definitely not FM, definitely not catering. The company was founded in 1966 by Pierre Ballon in Marseille, and he started it out as a catering contract. He has evolved the company since then. He's now the chairman, and he has a very active involvement in the company. On almost a day-to-day basis, he's in the office every day.
Good morning. I actually don't need this microphone before Kevin says it, because I am rather loud and rather over the top at times. But I'm going to try and stand still today, even though you might have noticed I've got a cast on my foot, but I will try and not move around too much. I'm going to share a story with you today, and it's going to be truthful, so don't worry too much, Nigel. But part of our starting off with NJW and Sodexo 3.5 years ago was creating a partnership and a trust and working together. And I think one of the things I'm going to start about, when you've seen the Neverending Story come up here, it's probably one of my favourite films. I'd like to say as a child, but it probably was a little bit later than that, as I'm nearly 47. It's about a troubled boy, Bastian, who dives into a wondrous world full of fantasy through the pages of this mysterious book. For Sodexo and NJW, Sodexo Connections, as we now know the product we use, was that never-ending story. Sodexo was that troubled boy. We went out looking for a client reporting portal unique to offer our clients. Bastian set off on his quest, so did Sodexo, to find a market leader in the type of work and not to try and reinvent the wheel. Bastian found a world of fantasy and illusion. Sodexo needed to find a company with a wow factor, the vision, the passion, the match to match our own. Bastian found a friend and a partner, Folko, the flying fluffy dog. We needed a company who wanted to partner and work with us and grow our ideas, and luckily we found NJW. I'm not saying NJW that fluffy dog, it's more about the friend and partner that we found on the journey. In the very beginning, 3 men met in a bar: Nigel Warwick, Kevin Fitzpatrick and Richard Nixon. They had a beer, then they had a few more beers. I think out of that came a coaster with some writing on it. I think the coaster was that first thought about what Sodexo Connections could look like. So we had 3 men meet in a bar with a coaster and on top of with their beers. And the never-ending story part of it came with the starting of the coaster. So I think we ended up with a 2-page document that basically was scoped out about how Sodexo Connections would look. So we had a release 1, we had a release 2, we even had a client light, we had global reporting, help desk, document management areas, we had an administrator for Sodexo, and all of that was going to develop our system from this 2-pager coming out of the pub. I think that clearly wasn't what happened, and part of what we're going to take over the next few minutes is how this journey performed. I think it's really important when you strip back everything. What we were left is, out of those 588 words, was the following statement. The project is a collaborative one, rather than a client-supplier model. So what I mean by that is there's no dictatorship. We don't tell NJW what to do, they don't tell us. We work together to bring the best of those two businesses together. So they can say whatever they want and we're not going to be upset about it. I think clearly you can't have a two-page document that supports a product like Sodexo Connections going forward. However, the fundamentals of the process we set out in that very first bar meeting of the three gentlemen in the room did was that we gathered our ideas. We gathered them from lots of sources through clients, Sodexos, SMEs, subject matter experts, NJW in the community. Those client ideas are driven from new and existing features. They're driven from how we want our help desk enhancements to go, reporting, change, look and feel. Heavily influenced by developments in the web, obviously. You know, what Internet Explorer on has a long basing of how you can support that product out to a client. Single sign-on ability. You know, can we, one of our clients wanted to be able to sign into their systems and then sign into Sodexo Connections without signing in again. And I think that's key to move with those clients' needs, that they're not always remembering other passwords and moving forward. These ideas get pushed down into what we refer to as the innovation funnel. So it's not an easy process to get to here, I have to say. And, you know, there probably is a lot of arguments along the way and screaming. And, you know, we don't want it this way. But I think the key is it's everybody's making these decisions. It's not just Sodexo doing this. So we have phone, WebEx reviews, face-to-face. It culminates the first stage of this in a round table with key people like NJW, our clients involved, ICE&T, our subject matter experts, our sponsor Richard Nixon, and formerly Kevin, steering group, super users. So we don't decide, Nicola and I in the room, this is what we'd like to see, although, you know, we have a feed into that. But we do help people to decide how it's going to go. And I think one of the things I'm going to share with you now is the sort of journey we take through those decisions. So it gets a bit formal here, so it's not all about sitting in a pub drinking beer, which is very nice, or wine in my case. But every idea gets a unique number, so it gets identified, it's given a source number, and it follows it through the transition from the idea to a fully tested and delivered feature. I think the individual idea is important to know that a one-liner saying enhanced reporting, those ideas grow and expand. You can't help it, you know. You ask somebody, what does that actually mean? So at this stage, we ask everybody to produce a two-pager reporting enhancement. Those enhancements allow us to really look through what does somebody have in their head and how they're going to get it down to paper and what do they actually mean. So we'll add in Excel, Word, pictures, notes, you know, so that when we come to sit and talk about it in this meeting and look at how we prioritise what's in, what's out, we have to make a decision somewhere along the line. We have to say, right, we're now going to stop this. How are we going to decide what we're going to do? You know, how are we going to decide out of those 50 items that have come into this release, how are we going to, you know, make that crunch decision of what should we go forward? Or the biggest bearing on that decision actually comes with our client pressure and further development with the clients. So if we've had a load of clients in and they've all said, I'd like to see this, they're priority one. If we've got an administration in the back end that says, oh, actually, you know, we'd really like to change the back end of our administration and add some features in to make it easier for Sodexo, that probably ends up with a 3. Or might end up with a 2, but then moves to a 3, because the reality is we have to service our clients. They are key and important. And the back end, whatever way we'll get around and manage it, they don't need to know that happens. The decisions can take a lot of time. You get a lot of pressure from everybody, but the key is we deliver twice a year in a 6-monthly cycle. So therefore, if something's going to take 8 to 9 months, and we know that because we ask NJW to give us a rough estimate, and I'd use the word rough, of how many days they think it's going to take to do, and then we add those days together and think, right, well, that adds up to about 6 months. If it goes to 9 months, we have to then strip it back again, sit with obviously the clients come first, so we might take more and more things out of it, or we might decide to do interim releases, and you'll see later on we've done a number of releases over our 3.5 years. What we next do is we pull together a design document. I think it's clear to say, if I take as an example reporting enhancement, before we actually got to build the design document, we had 2 to 3 days in a room with NJW, with some key people that understood what reporting meant and what the future could look like, and we thrash it out. And I'd say we do really thrash it out. It ends up with a collaboration of the whole team putting their views together. It also ends up with Roy, and I haven't seen Roy somewhere today, Mr. Bleeks, who tends to use his thought process on a PC building it. So you often have things to look at as you're going along and go, oh yeah, I like that, or no, I don't like it. I think the key for NJW and for us is then bringing the wow factor. How do we keep that wow factor in? Going right back to anybody that's known NJW for a number of years, they went through a very black period where everything on their presentations was black and orange. And I think what we've tried to move on from there is, that didn't work for us, the black period. It actually was hard. You couldn't print it out. So, we're quite open and frank. And I think both Nicola and I wouldn't say they dread us coming in, but I think they know we're going to give them the honest opinion. But what we do expect back from them is honesty back. So we expect that they tell us what's not going to work. So, we'll say, well, why can't you do that? And they'll give us another 10 reasons why I can't. And we have to trust their judging. We have to believe that what they're telling us is the truth, regardless if we think, well, actually, isn't it easier to go A, B, C? They want to go A, F, G, down. Eventually we get to Z. And we're like, well, why do we have to take such a long journey? Why does it take, 3 months to get this piece of development out? I think what I was going to say here is we have got a very defined process. I haven't actually touched it, to be honest, swear to God. We've got a very defined process, but actually there's a lot of flexibility about our defined process. So Sodexo can have a set of development phases, so can have NJW. But what we do is we collaborate together at stages through that. So we have gate stages. When we go through all of this work, sitting down with them, we have a milestone that we have to achieve a certain set of criteria. So we can't go forward unless we've signed off, and neither can NJW. I think the flexibility of having this, though, allows Sodexo to still work within our IS&T constraints, that we've got to do things in a certain way and we have to go through certain paperwork and fill things in and all the other little things that IS&T make you do. When it comes to NJW, they can have their flexibility and do what they do within their company well, but we meet at each of these stage gates and move forward. I think the thing for me about this whole process is I don't want any surprises. So things do change, absolutely. Even after a design document has been signed off, it still changes. And you need to be big enough to accept that those changes are nothing to do with people in the room or they're personally that they've done it to you. It's because that's life. And software development is not a straightforward. So I think for me, because we have lots of communication with NJW weekly, 2 weekly and monthly with them, we know what's going on. I don't want any surprises. I don't want somebody telling me 3 weeks before we're just about to go live with a client in a whole base that actually we're another 2 months behind, which has happened. I want to know now. So it's been a whole development with NJW. We've built up a massive trust with them.
I think the admin on this it's quite complex because we have clients that have complex needs. So some of their sites, they only want one person to see it on any given day. So other clients are fine. They're happy for everyone to see everything. Fabulous. That's the really good setup, and that's really quick. But it is highly customizable. It is very flexible for what we've required. We don't have... All of our customers are different. None of them wanted to be the guinea pig, and none of them were the guinea pig, knowingly. But I think that we did work in quite close collaboration with GSK when we did it. So I had quite a few roundtable discussions with Chris Jones, designing the quadrant, and that was a real... So GSK really spearheaded what that looked like within Sodexo Connections, and that has been sold in to all of our other clients that use Sodexo Connections. So I think when we first show Sodexo Connections in either a sales pitch or when we're demonstrating it, I don't know how many demonstrations you would have done. I've probably done about 40. everyone's like, wow, this is amazing, it's so sexy, and everything comes up, and then you implement it and you deploy and it's great, yep, it's excellent. And then within about 3 months, everyone says, okay, so what's next? This is great, but my iPhone can do this and that and the other. So I think that's the challenge that we have, and why we have these 6-month deployments is because we need to keep the product fresh, and all those, the round table and everything that Fiona talked about previously, that's what keeps Sodexo Connections kind of constantly evolving. It's not and never will be a static platform. It needs to keep evolving. So maybe not at the speed that our clients would like or our users would like, but it definitely does evolve. And the next 2 releases will bring massive change to our users, so real changes in the reporting particularly, which has the biggest impact on our users.